Hello everyone, my name is Lebedeva and I am a blogger, journalist and someone who cares about what is happening in the world. In this speech, I'm addressing to all citizens of Russia as well as the global community. Currently, real tragedy is unfolding in Russia, where the authorities are using the pretext of a pasteurellosis epidemic to destroy livestock in various regions of Russia, without providing any documentation, taking samples or conducting animal tests, and in some cases even in the absence of the owner, illegally entering private property. This affected such regions as the Novosibirsk region, Altai, the Altai Republic, as well as the Omsk region. There are also reports from the Tomsk and Penza regions. People are being deprived of perfectly healthy livestock. Euthanasia is being carried out in front of their eyes. Animals are being taken to burial grounds and burned in their thousands. People in the villages are coming together to protect the animals, but veterinary services come with a police escort and detain citizens for allegedly unauthorized meetings. Two journalists who were covering the events, Ivan Frolov and Dmitry Polushin, have already been detained. Thankfully, concerned citizens and journalists are filming the events for mass publicity, so there is plenty of evidence of these facts on social media. I would also like to remind you that this situation and the practice of killing livestock under the pretext of various viruses began during the well-known pandemic in 2020-2021. Many regions face the same tragedy. For example, in my region, the Kostroma region, pigs were burned and chickens were seized. There was even a case when 6,000 pigs were killed in a single incident at the Schwab agro-holding in Kostroma. They also went to rural houses and counted the number of livestock in each house, and they seized chickens en masse. Similar situations occurred in many other regions, such as Krasnodar, Krasnoyarsk, Khakassia, Kurgan, Buryatia, Altai and other regions. And now there's a new wave. However, according to residents of the Novosibirsk region, the large ermine plant owned by Oleg Bulgakov, a member of Putin's Yedinaya Rossiya party, continues to supply dairy products despite the alleged epidemic, and no livestock is being seized or destroyed. The authorities do not answer people's questions, and when they meet with them directly, they run away, ignoring the person and their questions. There's simply a lack of respect for the person. This is simply a lack of respect for the person, his feelings, and the tragic situation when he had the only source of income, investing his entire life and time in these animals. It is like having a family member that you see every day raise and invest all your life and energy in. No one can clearly explain the nature of this terrible disease or the documents they rely on, referring to the confidentiality of information. Nowadays, the pretext of secrecy has become very popular in government responses. For example, when people ask the authorities about missile shelters in their city or village, the authorities respond that this information is classified. How can this be possible? When there is a missile threat, you don't know where to go for shelter. It's a secret. It's a convenient excuse to refer on secrecy. If we look at it more globally, the same thing is happening in France, Cyprus, and possibly other countries that we haven't heard about yet. In Russia, this is happening right before the snow melts, and it seems that there has been a recent sabotage in this area, as the water is not being released in a timely manner to allow it to flow smoothly from reservoirs and rivers, resulting in the sudden release of large amounts of water that have flooded entire villages and towns. 2 years ago, this led to a tragedy in the Orenburg region. And now thousands of cattle are being burned during the flood season. It seems that they're deliberately creating unsanitary conditions as the livestock will float into the rivers. Well, since we can see that all of this is happening on a global scale and that other countries are also experiencing similar things, what is really going on? We've all heard about the Schwab agenda and the WEF's fierce opposition to global warming and CO2 emissions. According to their program and theory, the main contributors to CO2 emissions and global warming are cows, but also other livestock. That is, even if we believe their theory of global warming, it is not the wars they unleash, the production and use of various types of weapons, or the wealthy lifestyle of the global elite on private yachts and airplanes, but the animals, ordinary farmers and agriculture in general, that are to blame. This is a clear case of manipulation and deception. As always, they're trying to blame the common people, even though they're the ones who created this system. And if we are talking about pollution and global warming, they're the ones who are much more responsible for the wars that the common people don't want, but they're dragging them into. Information is also circulating online that the World Bank has signed an agreement with Western countries to completely eliminate warming for net zero CO2 emissions by 2030. Maybe that's why all this is happening. This refers not only to animals, but also to crop production. That is, they want to deprive us of everything. And where the World Bank is, there are central banks of almost all countries. And we know that the Central Bank of Russia is also not a state-owned bank, but a private one, and reports directly to the IMF and the BIS, Bank for International Settlements. This is confirmed by completely open sources and the very nature of the central bank structure. So, the goal is to deprive people of their independence in terms of food and to reduce everything to globalization, which means that production will be taken over by a single large oligarch farmer in a region that follows the WEF's directives. And then we will be forced to consume insects, as I believe. After all, many countries are already introducing insects into their diets, and Russia has been operating larvae farms for several years, such as the one in the Tver region. In October 2023, Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin signed a decree on the release of the insect larvae into food products, such as the production of flour, mashed flies, and other products. This means that it has already been implemented at the legislative level. Imagine that. And in February 2024, major agricultural fairs were held in Perm, Moscow and Stavropol, showcasing food products made from insects. The global agenda is clear: total control in all areas and complete dependence on the state, whose management is highly questionable. This agenda implies to all key countries around the world. What should we, the citizens, do? In my opinion, and as practice shows, the only way out is to unite and build true democracy. In other words, we can only prevent everything that happens if we work together, because if we work separately, we will be swept away. This is possible, but we have been taught that we are insignificant, that nothing depends on us. Everything is decided by authorities. In reality, we, the common people, possess immense power, and the authorities are well aware of this. They are doing everything they can to prevent people from uniting and to divide them further. We've simply forgotten our strength, believing that we can't change anything, and became selfish and apathetic. However, if we unite in an organized structure, it will be challenging to break us. There are examples of this. when people come together and fight for their rights collectively, rather than individually, they are less likely to be targeted, as the power of unity and truth is greater than the illegal oppression of the system. In Russia, for several years now, people have been coming together in thematic committees based on their professions and interests, such as the Council of Parents, the Council of Teachers, and the Association of Doctors, who expose lies and abuses in their respective fields and protect the rights of children, teachers, medical professionals, and patients, respectively, in an effort to establish and maintain a harmonious system in their respective fields. Additionally, people are coming together locally, forming councils in their cities and villages to address local issues. These councils communicate with each other, forming a network that is crucial for quickly addressing problems and sharing experiences. And also to strengthen the belief that you are not alone, that there are many of us, and that everything can be changed. To unite is to start taking joint actions on certain topics, common problems and interests. Such actions build up a close-knit and friendly team. It is difficult to break such a team. This has been proven in practice during the pandemic, where regions with active and friendly councils experienced a rapid relaxation and even cancellation of measures such as wearing of masks, lockdowns and distant education. On the contrary, regions where activity was weak or there were no councils faced more strict measures. There are also cases when groups have stood up against the illegal demolition of important buildings and for the cancellation of their construction, such as in Zarechny Penza region, where residents united in a council successfully defended a children's stadium from local businessmen who want to build residential buildings and make a lot of money. However, they were unsuccessful in their efforts. Therefore, the collective is a huge force. And I believe that we must unite in this way in every country of the world, in every city and village. Otherwise, we will not be able to survive, and we will all end up in total slavery. We must also cooperate with other countries in order to receive accurate information and share the truth and experience of building people's democracy. Only then we will be able to achieve our goals, and we, the Russian people, despite the challenges and persecution of the system, have faith in victory. Thank you for your attention.